It's our annual fundraiser here at Resonance. This year, we're trying to raise £100,000 to maintain and improve our facilities and to support our 225 program makers. If you like what you hear on Resonance, please do support us. Go to fundraiser.resonance.fm, where you will find full details of our live fundraising events and many items in our online auction. Or, if you've enough stuff in your life as it is, and just want to sit back and listen to the radio, whether it's Resonance FM or Resonance Extra, then why not make a donation of any amount? It's all at fundraiser.resonance.fm.
Well, look at this! Appears you got here just in the nick of time. What does that make us?
Big damn heroes, sir.
Ain't we just?
What is he doing?
I don't know.
What is he, a peeping Tom or something?
Oh, who cares? Come on, let's walk down.
Hello and welcome to Shoot the Breeze on Resonance 104.4 FM, a film and TV radio show where a handful of film enthusiasts shoot the breeze about all things film and television. I'm Marcus E. Acko, and producer Dave is working his magic in the background. It's just in front of me. He's trying to get rid of, what noise was that?
It's gone.
Is it gone?
Yep.
It was the sound of hydrophones inside water.
Hydrophones inside water.
Yes.
Okay.
There was a
please.
track that was played just before the end of the last show, Ed Pinsent's Sound Projector radio show, by an artist called Tomoko Sauvage. She's a sound artist and she makes work that uses the sound of water dropping into other bowls of water, mic'd up by microphones underneath the water that it's dropping into, and it turns into really beautiful kind of resonant, glassy type sounds. And that was some of those.
Huh. Okay.
They weren't really supposed to be playing at the same time, but I may have left them running. By the way, my name's Laura Sampson, and
That explains it.
Hi.
And Laura, yes.
And there was poor David running around thinking,
Our introduction for the show today is what was that sound? Which is kismet, because today's episode is about sound, right? But let's get everything back on track. I introduced myself. You've introduced yourself. One more person is supposed to introduce himself, and then we'll go to our guest.
Oh, you're talking about me now?
Yes, I'm talking about you, producer Dave.
Yeah. My name's David Campbell. I'm here tonight again, and Marcus is trying to film me on Facebook Live, and I'm hiding behind the mic.
Why?
Yes.
Why? Get that gorgeous face on camera.
Okay.
With us in the studio today is sound recordist extraordinaire. Please tell us your name. And I guess, you see, this is okay. Those people who've listened to the show,
you missed
before,
out, didn't
I
you?
know they did. Yeah, I'll tell you what. You know what? I'm going to throw this at you. Sorry, I'm going to do this. I'm going to throw this.
I'm going to mess up my lines too.
No, you're not going to mess up your lines.
You have
You're
no
fine.
lines.
You're fine. This is the pain of improvising the show. So please tell us your name and what was the last movie you watched that made you cry.
Okay, my name is Robyn Leonard, and the last movie that I remember crying at was the original Blade Runner with the monologue at the end.
See, we had that conversation earlier, and I'm going to shock. Well, I'm not going to shock a lot of people. People who know me are going to be like, no, I can see that. I've watched Blade Runner, the original Blade Runner, twice, not all the way through. Is that the director's version, or is that the original version?
That was the director's cut.
The director's cut.
version my dad has.
Okay, that's the one that has you said it has the narration at the end.
Yeah.
And it's the narration that makes you cry?
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
let's.
not narration. It's kind of like it's like a final monologue.
Sure.
The
So
android guy.
Rutger Hauer's
Yeah.
last. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. You know what? I'm going to throw the others into. So just welcome to the show, Laura. What was the last movie that made you cry?
Chronologically, the last movie that made me cry that I watched was The Neverending Story. I watched it the other night whilst
Ding,
drinking a nice glass of Prosecco, and the two bits that always make me cry made me cry again. When the horse gets has an unfortunate incident in a swamp, and
Robyn knows the bit you're talking about because Robyn was describing
I've
what you
cried
were.
at it too.
You've cried that bit too. Okay.
and where one of the main characters from the beginning of the film is sitting in despair on a beach, knowing that he can't do anything to stop the world from ending. It's really very sad.
And that makes you cry.
Every single time.
I wonder if I'll cry when I finally watch that movie. Not sure. We'll find out.
I'll have spoiled it all for you by then.
Yeah, David, what's the most recent film that you've watched that made you cry?
I can't remember because I was drunk at the time, and I'm pleading the fifth.
I'm sorry. Wait, hold on. Were you drunk at the time? That's why you were crying, or you can't remember the movie because you were drunk?
I can't remember the movie because I was drunk.
Okay.
And I'm pleading the fifth.
Okay, fair enough.
Even though there's no Fifth Amendment in this country.
You know what? That's fine. I'll take it. There was one actually recently that I cried, and that's the reason why it's sharp in my mind.
Spider-Man?
Well, to be honest, there was Spider-Man. There was a tear. Avengers: Infinity War as well. There was a tear there too. But it was one recently, and I can't remember what it was. But it was the fact that while I was watching it, that's it. Sorry, yes. And it's gonna pop up later on the show. Quiet Place. I was watching A Quiet Place, and there's a bit where it got a little misty-eyed for me, and it was a very short scene in the minute. I'm not going to spoil it because obviously some people are going to get angry at me, but yes, so that was the last film I watched that made me kind of well up a little bit.
Some people? Do you mean...
Some people. We won't say who, but yeah. Go on, Laura, you're putting your hand up.
There are some films that I think make parents cry more than people who are free of offspring.
No, you're absolutely right.
Do you have father moments where you feel like, oh no, there is a child there and they're helpless and they're about to have whatever they have happen to them? Do you feel more emotional about those kind of things since you had children?
You know what? While I do have those moments, the moments that there are other moments that I have more. The moments that I have more since I've had kids are situations. Oh, sorry, the camera's just falling down. The moments I've had more often are me watching a horror film and just going, "Yeah, we wouldn't survive that. Yeah, we wouldn't survive that." Quiet Place. We watched it. First thing I thought was, we'd be dead. Yeah. The youngest one.
Because
it's like the youngest one could.
None of you can.
And I tested that theory out, right? I tested that theory out. The next morning, went to the two of them and was like, "Hey, all right, so we're gonna do a 2-minute silence bit. Everyone, be quiet." Literally seconds later, he goes up and says, "What are we doing now?" I said we were doing silent game. Everybody, be quiet. Nobody, just don't talk for 2 minutes. Why can't I talk? Why? Because we'd be dead. That's why we'd be dead. That's the game I play more often these days. I basically watch a movie and I say, "Yeah, as a dad, we'd be dead." That's it. I do well up occasionally. Okay, sorry, just coming back to that. Everyone's like, "Get on with the show already." But let me just get back to
we're allowing you your time because you know
Okay.
what? In 2 seconds' time, we'll be turning around and saying, "Right, okay, let's move on."
That's perfect. So just coming back to the what you've just talked about, the one that resonates with me the most, and this is a weird one to use because it's when it happened the very first time, was Star Trek. The J.J. Abrams reboot, the first one, right? And I remember the scene perfectly. The scene was it's at the very beginning where Chris Hemsworth, he's in that. It's the beginning of the movie, and he plays Kirk's dad, right? And he's not a captain of the Enterprise, but he's on the ship. He's one of the I can't remember what rank he was.
No. He's one of those low ranking ones.
Yeah,
but because
wasn't-
he's the last one on there, he is the acting
exactly.
captain,
So he has to take over because the ship is about to crash, and he has to hold the fort so that his wife, who's pregnant with Kirk, evacuates with all the other people, and they sail off. And I think the last might be misremembering this, but the last sound he hears is basically his son being born, just as he's basically dying with the ship exploding. And that bit wells me up constantly because I watched that movie when I had the first kid.
I think we're going to have to find a sound to play before a spoiler alert.
How is that a spoiler alert? That's the beginning of the movie. It's the beginning of the. James Noble is online. He's watching us on Facebook. Hi, James. We need to get you back on the show. James Noble he's an author. Robyn, he's an author
and a script writer.
And a script writer.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So James, if you can. Message us, tell us, do you consider that a spoiler if it happens within the first 10 minutes of the movie?
Sorry, it doesn't matter if he does or, it's other people, they might.
I'll tell you what, anybody who wants to come and argue with me, if you want to fight with me, you fight with me. Bring this on.
Up.
Go on,
So
Robyn. Yeah, go for it.
I think it classes as a spoiler because some of the most important scenes are the opening scenes because it sets the mood, right?
All right,
fine. So
you're listening to Shoot the Breeze on Resonance 104.4.
I am so trying not to laugh.
You're listening to Shoot the Breeze on Resonance 104.4 FM. I'm Marcus Iacco.
I'm Laura Sampson.
And I'm David Campbell.
With us in the studio is sound recordist and not a very good friend of mine, Robyn Leonard. She's come to join us. She's going to tell us all about sound and movies. Before we go and talk about what's happening on the show, I want to throw it to Laura, who's going to give us a little shout out about what Resonance FM is doing at the moment.
Resonance FM is in the middle of its annual fundraiser. We need to raise funds to maintain and improve our unique radio station and support our 225 program makers, of which we are some.
Yes, we are.
But David and I also work as volunteers for Resonance FM.
You do.
And so you will be directly enriching our lives as well. This program's coming to you live and for free. If you like what you hear on Resonance, either on this show or on any other show, please do support us. Visit fundraiser.resonance.fm for details of our online auction, live events, or to make a donation. And there's so many amazing things on the online auction. The thing I really want today, actually, is a 1-to-1 steel pan lesson. You know what steel pans are?
Is that the one that goes...
Steel drums, yeah.
Yeah, Trinidadian band instrument.
I don't know what
lesson.
tune I was playing there, but yes, you one-on-one lesson.
1-on-1 hour-long lesson on the steel pans.
Oh my, okay.
I think that would be amazing. I have made my bid. You should make yours, listeners.
I'll probably go and I'll steal that bid from you, just mainly because I'll be competitive and then try and take that, and then that way I don't have to do that noise with my mouth.
There are some TV and film related auction items as well, but
fact,
that one was a little bit of a detour.
Saying that,
sound related, of course.
Mr. Man found upstairs all the Marvel and DC.
Absolutely, and I put the tweet out on our Facebook page, which is Shoot the Breeze on Resonance 104.4 FM. I put it on Instagram as well, which is Shoot the Breeze Show, and that goes out on Twitter as well, which is at _Resonance FM. Put the pictures of all the graphic novels that are out there. There's DC, there's Marvel, there's some stuff about the Marvel Zombies. Check it out. This show we're hijacking the Marvel Daredevil and Punisher comic book. Nobody's bidding on that one. If anybody bids on it, I will find you. I will track you down.
And he will bid more than you.
I'll bid more than you. You can bid on all the other stuff. There's Daredevil. There's Rocket Raccoon. Go and bid on all of those ones. Don't touch the Marvel Daredevil Punisher one because I will find you. Anyway, Jimmy, thank you for coming back. James Noble's come back and says, anything in the first 15 minutes is fair game unless there's a main plot point that turns in that time.
And that it was a main
how is
plot
that a
point.
plot?
Yes, it was. It was the setting of the whole movie.
It's
pivotal.
the prologue of the movie.
It's pivotal.
How is it pivotal?
It's because it was a reboot, and unless you saw that reboot, you would not understand why it came across.
First 5 minutes of A Quiet Place, you remember, right?
Yes.
I'm not going to say what it is, but
Sure.
if you said what that was, that's a spoiler.
Okay. I'm really not liking you today. This is okay. Fine. Anyway, right.
Take
So
your job.
we're on the show. So we're gonna introduce you more to the person who's making me not like her very much, Robyn Leonard. She's gonna talk more about with new spotlight on her. Talk about her career as a sound recordist. Our top 5 favorites today will be about top 5 favorite films regarding sound. So sound in films. But before we do any of that stuff, the usual segment is film and TV news. So, Albert Finney, actor, famous actor, most memorable in Erin Brockovich. He was the lawyer who hires Julia Roberts to play Yep, that's him. I know him more from my number 4 favorite film of all time, Miller's Crossing. But he died today.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, you're just going to be going, oh yeah, yes. Anyway, sad, he died. He died today. He's most famous for he's Tom. The film he starred in, Tom Jones, nominated for 5 Oscars. He died today, age 52. He's a face that you recognize when you see him on screen. Warm, lovable. He's your uncle, the uncle type character. And it's just when I saw it, I hadn't thought of him in a long time. And then I saw the news pop up today, and the first thing I thought of was his character in Miller's Crossing. And it just Miller's Crossing is Coen Brothers film. It stars Albert Finney and Gabriel Byrne. It's set in a nondescript U.S. Town in like Depression era, whatever, and he plays the leader of one gang in the city, and everything I've seen him in, he just never puts his foot wrong. The fact that he then popped up and he's dead at 82, long career, excellent actor. He'll be greatly missed. We're only in February, and I know this is okay. This is real life. Real life, people die, obviously. People die all the time. It's weird how when we start counting the number of people, the number of actors and number of screen characters that die. I guess that's the program that we are. We start counting it, and it seems quite a number have started ranking up this year. I mean, not as bad as 2017, where like Bowie and Alan Rickman and everyone pretty much died pretty much in the same month at the beginning of the year. But it's started to ramp up now, right? I mean, who next?
Wasn't it 2016?
Was it 2016?
Prince, Bowie.
Yeah, they all pretty much went in the same month. It was Prince, Bowie, I think Alan Rickman, and I think the guy from one of the rock band. I can't remember what it was.
It was in the first third of the year.
Yeah.
When was Richard Attenborough? Because I remember that.
Is he dead?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're thinking
I'm
about
thinking David Attenborough. Oh, thank you.
David's still going strong.
Man, I don't care. Everyone is holding death at death's door. Stay away from David Attenborough. No. But Richard Attenborough is dead. I can't remember which year it was though. Yeah.
Moving on.
Moving on. Producer
Um,
Dave on the case.
Woody Allen is suing Amazon for $52 million after they pulled the plug on a 5-movie deal.
Is he?
Yeah, he signed the contract in either 2016 or 2017. There seems to be a bit of a dispute about the dates. And he's saying that these baseless allegations were already public at that point, and they're only now pulling the plug after he's done only 2 of the movies. And he's suing them for $53 million.
What are your thoughts on that, David? What are your thoughts on the fact that that last line that you said, right, where you said these facts are baseless?
No. I said what he says are baseless.
Yeah, sure. He says the facts he says are baseless, but that's beside the point. But the crux of that particular argument is that they knew what. Yeah, even though he says they're baseless, what he's saying is they knew who he was. They knew that those stories.
Blah, blah.
Those stories have been going on for decades now. It's not new. It's just popped up. But the rise of Me Too, Time's Up, Mute R. Kelly, etc. seem to start taking down people. Now, what are your thoughts about the fact that they knew Woody Allen? There's no way that anyone can say that, anyone in Amazon anyway could say they didn't know about those stories. What are your thoughts about the fact that even though they knew that, now the hashtag has come up and now they're deciding to drop his picture? $53 million deal. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you know what? If they knew about it beforehand and they're now only pulling the plug because they've seen what studios like Disney and, well, Disney basically, ABC and all that are doing, then I think they're being very cynical. Okay. Because they went into it with their eyes open. Mm-hmm. And I can see his point, if you see what I mean. Yeah. Flip side is that the man is, and related to this, but not the same story, the CEO of Amazon put out a thing recently calling out AMI who are trying to blackmail him. Yes, Jeff Bezos is he's being blackmailed by National Enquirer and etc.
Blah.
Now, you know what? if he's willing to do that, if he's willing to stand up to them and say, you know, bugger off, I'm not going to have that, then he should have actually stood behind his deal.
So you think that he should have still allowed the deal to go through with Woody Allen, get the films produced?
They knew about it beforehand. They signed a deal anyway. Okay, times have changed and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
They should have fronted it. They should they should have carried on.
Okay.
If you see what I mean. Because at the end of the day, he makes the films. Doesn't mean that they're going to sort of like enter any wars or what have you. It's Amazon content. They could have just buried it quietly on Amazon.
No, that makes sense.
You know.
Yeah, I guess that's probably what they it's more along the lines of they didn't want that. And now that the social consciousness has changed towards the hashtag movement, it's sort of they wanted to be on the forefront of that. They wanted to be on the right side of that hashtag movement, not in as you said, still pay that money out and then go and have to bury it because they're not going to make any money from it. And if anything, they'll probably get more negative publicity in the sense that they're promoting it, especially coming over with the whole thing of Mute R. Kelly, the hashtag Mute R. Kelly, right now, where the documentary Surviving R. Kelly has tanked his career. If you don't know who R. Kelly is, okay, fair enough. Don't worry, just Google.
If you don't know R. Kelly, forget about it.
Exactly, R&B singer, but his career has tanked now because of the hashtag movement. So it's probably just them trying to get themselves ahead of the game by doing that. But for me, the Woody Allen thing doesn't annoy me half as much as the James Gunn thing annoys me with Disney. I'm really infuriated by that because
they're still going to use his this script.
No, that's not the point. It's not just about the script. It's about the director who then leads the project and everything, and it's just going to leave a bad taste in my mouth when I go to watch Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and I see that it's been done by somebody else, and that's beside the point. Anyway, last bit of news before we do our spotlight session. I saw the trailer for Shaft today, a new Shaft movie. Richard Roundtree, a guy called Usher, not Usher Raymond, but his last name's Usher, but then obviously Samuel L. Jackson. Really like that movie. I like the Shaft version back in the 70s. I love the Richard Roundtree version. I liked a lot the Samuel L. Jackson version as well, which is in the late 90s with Christian Bale and Jeffrey Wright. But the trailer for this one looks amazing. It's great. It's funny. It's catchy. Anyway, I'm gonna go see it. Anyway, let's move on to the next. I see producer Dave in the background. He's doing this. He's saying, yes, speed up, speed up, speed up. So I'm going to speed up to the next section, which is Spotlight. Producer Dave is like, no.
Now.
Okay. You're listening to Shoot the Breeze on Resonance 104.4 FM. I'm Marcus E. Acko.
I'm Laura Sampson.
I'm David Campbell.
And with us in the studio, she's been very silent today because I've been berating her for the fact that she's saying that whatever happens in the first 10 minutes of a movie is considered a spoiler, is sound recordist.
And so many people agree with that.
So many people.
Thank you.
No, well, you say so many people. I know people that don't agree with her. Anyway, it's Robyn Leonard. Hi, Robyn. Thank you for joining us in the studio.
Thank you.
So, tell us, what made you decide to take up sound recording in film school?
So, whenever I've been on a project, whether it's art or science, I've always felt like I've been at a disadvantage by the fact that I pay a lot of fine detail, and attention, and it's caused me to take longer than I need to get a project done, paying attention to detail. But when I got into sound, that allowed me to turn that flaw into a skill, because in sound you really need to pay attention to detail, whether you hear a blip in the back or when you build up atmos in a room. It's all these fine pieces pulled together.
Okay.
And I really enjoy that.
So and that's the thing, because for me, when I watch movies, it's sort of, I find that sound is the most underrated yet most powerful tools in a filmmaker's tool bag. Yeah. There was an analogy I heard someone say where you could watch a movie that is badly lit and the camera is shot on an iPhone. However, as long as the sound is great, you can watch the entire movie. You watch a movie where it's greatly lit and it's an amazing camera, but the sound is off. The first 10 minutes, you're going to switch off.
Yeah.
I butchered the analogy, but that's it. But that rings true, because every time I'm watching, because obviously the sound goes directly into me. So my headphones goes directly into me, and I will actually switch off a movie if the sound is off.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who watch stuff and watch films, and if there's a disconnect, so maybe it's been badly dubbed, for example, or the soundtrack is a little off, and you can see the action, but the moment you can see the action, you can still follow it. But the moment you can hear the sound, you can hear their voices a second afterwards, they're like, no, I don't want to watch this anymore, and they switch it off. So what can you tell us about that? Why is it that sound has such a powerful effect on us over visuals?
Well, like you said with your analogy, I agree with that, because whenever I watch a horror film, if I'm too scared but I want to keep on watching it, what I do is I turn off the sound or I turn it down.
Yeah.
So it's like the other 50% of what they want you to feel. And also, I agree with you. I've noticed that with foreign language films, you can either have subtitles that are worded on the screen, which works fine, and that works great. But I have seen TV shows, for example, I think it's Dark on Netflix.
Yeah.
Instead of using subtitles, they dub it over in another language, and that didn't work for me. I think a lot of people wished that they adopted for the worded subtitles.
Yeah.
Because it's out of sync, it's just messy, and I couldn't. It was a great show, but I switched it off in the end.
It's a good point. There's a lot of it gets lost in translation as well when you dub that. That's a good point.
But also, I feel like sound helps to amplify the visuals. It's what brings everything to life, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, anyone else wanted to ask?
Yeah. Do you mean sound or sometimes lack of sound? Because sometimes there are some movies where there is an absolute dearth. There's no sound whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yet it creeps you out because you're so conscious that there is no sound, and that's a skill as well. Don't you
Yeah, of course. So that can vary through genre. So silence is a massive tool in sound design. You might get, that's going to vary between a comedy or a horror. You're going to get a lot more intense sounds in a horror than you are with a comedy. I've noticed with comedies, they tend to just focus on the dialogue and the odd atmos in the background.
You've mentioned Atmos a couple of times in this conversation.
I should explain.
I understand what Atmos is,
Okay.
but there might be people out there who don't understand what Atmos is. Can you describe what is Atmos and how you tend to get it
Okay.
on a film set?
So to me, atmosphere is kind of like cinematic silence. So if we all stopped talking right now, depending on the sensitivity of the microphones, obviously, there's never really complete silence. It can set a scene. So say we're in London, we're in central London right now, you would hear cars and city life outside.
Yep.
So that helps to, So when we stop talking, if we're on a film, then you're gonna still know where they are.
Sure.
Even if you turned off the screen.
So, so on a film set per se, you basically have the director who just stops and decides, okay, everybody stays quiet, and then you hold the camera, you start rolling, and you get Atmos, and that's what plays in the background.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like room tone. Whenever they film a scene, they want to record the silence in that room.
Okay, so
go with the dialogue.
So if there might be some filmmakers out there who might be listening to this and thinking, okay, this is something I want to do, as in maybe either I want to go and make films. What are the main traps that filmmakers tend to fall for when it comes to sound or recording sound on film sets?
Rushing sound, not necessarily giving the recordist what they need.
Okay.
Because that can be looked over a lot of times. I've worked on film sets where I'm like, I want room tone to help with my dialogue edit to make it sound natural.
Okay.
And they think, oh, it's only a small thing, it doesn't matter. But you'll notice the difference in the edit in post. Tricky.
No, that's so good. I mean, it's okay. You're listening to Shoot the Breeze on Resonance 104.4 FM. I'm Marcus E. Acko.
I'm Laura Sampson.
And I'm David Campbell.
In the studio with us, talking about sound design and sound editing in movies, is Robyn Leonard, sound recordist. This for me, preparing for this particular episode has been a great bit of education. And I mentioned this earlier because you tend to not focus on sound. It's one of the most underrated facets of the movie. However, it has the most impact. You've mentioned horror films. David has actually mentioned about the lack of sound as well, or it's and that in a sense is a great way to play around with that tool. Just the same thing as I'm terrible at analogies, but I'll do them anyway. It's the same thing as a gun. You don't necessarily have to shoot a gun to make the gun powerful. The best scene with that, we're using a gun, is in The Departed with Jack Nicholson. Yes, the scene where, and this is not a spoiler. It doesn't matter.
No,
Nothing really happens. It's a conversation with Jack Nicholson, between Jack Nicholson and what's his name?
Matt Damon?
No, the other one. Leonardo DiCaprio.
They're all in it, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. And Leonardo DiCaprio. And the scene, the power of the position of power in that scene changes completely when a gun is introduced into the scene. And it's not even the fact that the gun is held in a threatening fashion. It's just the fact that it's a tool that gets used. It doesn't get shot. It doesn't get really pointed at anybody or threatened. But it's the fact that it's introduction to the scene. So that real subtle introduction or lack of use is just as powerful. Same thing for sound. Yeah. Sound. The use of sound can be instrumental to making a scene really horrific or really emotional. The lack of sound as well adds a lot of power to it. Yeah. It's one of the reasons why I hate a lot of horror films these days. Not because they, in my opinion, they use sound incorrectly. Jump scares, right, is a common tool used by a lot of horror films these days, where it's like everything's really, really quiet, and then they just use the very loud violin strings as someone pounces and grabs someone. That's not horror. That's not, in my opinion anyway. Obviously, take it as you will. But that's them using or overutilizing a very sensible tool, which is sound, to scare people. When we talk about our top fives later on, I'll bring a couple up with horror, and we'll talk about more about that. Laura, you were going to say something?
Oh, no, I was just about to... Well, I was actually about to say something, because all of this talk about sound reminds me how many brilliant sound artists work here and exist here as program makers and as sound engineers here at Resonance FM, and they donate their time for free here. And tonight, actually, there is a event called the Resonance All-Star Avant Gala, and it's at Eclectic, which is a music venue in Old Paradise Yard in Waterloo, which specialises in kind of sound art events. And this event's got new music by Acid Country Popsters Alabama 3. It's got gothic folk artist Bird Radio, also electronica Maverick Benedict Drew, and an amazing pan-European avant-garde quartet led by a Welsh violinist called Angara Davis, and
that's going on tonight.
She's sort of got a name for herself, both as a violinist and as a sound artist, because she gets a really pure sound out of the violin, and within sound art projects, and also a new work for guitar and electric toothbrushes by Resonance Extra's Milo Thesiger Meacham, who is one of the few people who has a paid job here at Resonance FM. It's bristling with sound artists. If you stay here for an hour, Robyn, I'm sure you'll meet lots of people who you'll have a meeting of minds with. Because
me and Milo go to the same university.
Really?
We discovered like an hour ago, same college as well, which is just 15 minutes away, because he's on sound arts and I'm doing sound design on the film course.
The London College of Communication is one of the places to study sound in London, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Is really that why you chose? Were there other choices for you when you were deciding where to study?
To be fair, over a year ago when I applied, I was really into directing. That's what a lot of people go into, what they want to do. But then we have different units, and we had a sound design unit, which was a film where we weren't allowed any dialogue or words on screen. And I was the sound designer for that film, and that was the film that made me realise that that's what I want to do. The teachers were great there, and they've worked on projects such as Black Mirror and so on, so big inspiration as well.
Did you have to switch courses, or was it just a different branch of the same course?
So Milo works on sound arts, which means that he's focused on sound, but it could be, from my knowledge, it could be animation, film, game design, so it could stretch over that. My course is for all things sound, so all things film, so you could do lighting, directing, script
Oh, right.
writing, sound, and I focus on sound. And my sound teacher focuses on the people who want to do sound as well.
Wow, it's amazing to have someone from London College of Communication. It really is the place to go for sound. That people come from all over the country and sometimes other places in Europe or even further afield to those courses. So, wow, hats off to you, Robyn. I'm bowing here in the studio. You can't see me.
Well, people
you
on
can
Facebook
see
Live
me
can
on
see it,
Facebook
yeah.
Live. I'm
Yeah.
bowing.
If you want to see Laura bowing, you can go to Shoot the Breeze on Resonance 104.4 FM and watch the Facebook live
It's a
stream.
good one.
While you're on that page on Facebook, you find our post. We'll post it out again to help contribute. Laura was talking about supporting the sound engineers from Resonance FM. You can support them by either going on our Facebook page and donating, or if you don't feel like donating, if you want to get something for your change, go on the website fundraiser.resonance.fm and go on the auction. We've posted images for Marvel and DC graphic novels. Not just those two. There are some others as well. But it's not just graphic novels. There are also other experiences, other things that you can bid for on the auctions. Go check it out. It's ending on Sunday, right?
It is ending on Sunday, and I've just thought of another thing I saw which, if I didn't work here, I'd really want to do, but I can do anyway here.
Sure.
There's the opportunity to record your own pilot radio show with one of the really brilliant engineers who also works as a professional sound engineer outside of Resonance. And yeah, there's still 2 days to go on that auction. So if you want to record your own radio pilot and have a professional help you do that in a studio here at Resonance, then you can do that.
Absolutely.
Go on the auction.
Absolutely, you can record your pilot if you want to be you get the Resonance obviously will provide support, as you said. If you just want to come and join one of the shows, feel free. Just go and bid and see what happens. The bidding ends on the 10th of February 2019. So make sure you go and bid. Go and bid, but stay away from the Marvel, Daredevil, Punisher graphic novel.
They're ours, aren't they?
Yes, stay away from them. Anyway. You're listening to Shoot the Breeze on Resonance 104.4 FM. I'm Marcus E. Acko.
I'm Laura Sampson.
And I'm David Campbell.
Who fell asleep a second ago? Oh, Producer Dave fell asleep. Anyway, we've got Robyn Leonard, sound recordist, in the studio with us. We've been talking sound in movies. So that nicely segues us into the next segment of this show, which is Top 5 Favorites. So our top 5 favorites, hashtag top 5 favorites. That's what we're doing now. Thanks, Elise. Gave us hashtags. That's one of our hashtags. Our other hashtag is hashtag It's All About the Three-Way. Also, hashtag Shoot the Breeze Show. Our hashtag right now for this segment is hashtag top 5 favorites. And the topic is top 5 favorite films with sound. No, that doesn't make sense. How did we structure it? Top 5 favorite films
Regarding sound.
Top 5 favorite sounding films?
Top 5 films with a notable sound.
So it can be films about
Because
sound,
of sound.
or
Because
films that
of
have
sound.
good sound design.
That's it.
It depends
With a
how
notable
you
soundscape.
interpret it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Does
think
it
of something
sound good?
catchy. Yeah, so you have like top 5 favorite films that I cried in, top 5 favorite horror films, top 5 favorite films with good sound.
Yeah, I've got
That's
a top
it.
5. I've got a top 5 for you anyway.
Go on.
But anyway.
Okay, top 5 favorite films with good sound. As always, we're going to go with our guest first. She's going to tell us her number
Great.
5 and number 4. Then we'll go around the room and come all the way back to her. She'll tell us her number 3 and number 2. And then we'll go all the way around again. And then she'll say her number 1. So, Robyn, what's your number 5 and what's your number 4?
Do you want me to explain?
Oh, you say your number 5 first, then you talk about it. And then number
Sure.
4, then you
Yeah.
talk about it.
Great. So for number 5, I've got Super Dark Times, which I found on Netflix as usual. I chose this film because the mixing in post, which means how all the sound comes together and the levels, the volume. I thought that was amazing. As in, a lot of the sound effects are extremely subtle, but they use silence to draw attention to them. And through that, I found that it managed to create the intensity of what the subject was really well. Number 4, not a film, but season 2, The Sinner. Basically, again, it was really good at creating a sense of anxiety because they would introduce a sound that sounded like this rhythmic musical sound, and then later when you cut to the object you realize it's no longer a rhythmic musical sound, it's actually a concrete sound coming from that object in the scene.
Oh, nice, okay.
So it's kind of like a metronome sound.
Okay.
It's this constant ticking and you don't know what that is, and when you piece it together with the visuals your brain kind of fixes it. And yeah.
Oh, that's
That's
excellent. So the number 5 was, you said Super Dark Times.
Super Dark Times.
Super Dark Times, and The Sinner is number 4.
Sinner season 2.
Season 2,
yeah.
specific. Okay, I still haven't seen that yet. I've seen it pop up.
Really good.
I know, and I
Yeah.
keep forgetting the name of the person in it. It's not Jeff Daniels. Is it Jeff Daniels? It's Jeff Daniels.
So season 1 and season 2 are kind of completely different stories.
Okay.
So you could watch season 2 first if you want.
Sure.
I
No,
think.
I'll watch season 1.
But
I'll
yeah.
go in order. Laura,
Yeah,
what's your number
sure.
5? What's your number 4?
Oh, those are proper experts' choices. Mine are a bit more populist, I guess. And whenever I notice the sound design of a film, it's usually because everything's really over the top in a way that sort of annoys me in a way that works for my understanding of the film. Last week I spoke quite a lot about The Favourite,
Yes.
because I think it's quite a beautiful costume drama, but the way that the sound is put on top of it, the way everything's just too much. There's loads of squelching, there's loads of, ripping sounds, sliding sounds, all kind of disgusting sounds, really kind of make everything seem overripe and over ugly, like a too ripe fruit, or lilies that are just too ripe and they've gone over into this kind of funereal smell. Everything's just going rotten, and I think that all of the kind of almost bodily sounds in that film make what could be a beautiful feast for the eye film without that seem something much more, I don't know, much more complicated and much less nice.
Okay.
And that was one of them.
So that's number 5.
Main things about the film.
The Favourite.
My number 4 is Wild, the Reese Witherspoon film about the woman who had been an addict who goes on this 1,000-mile trek across the Pacific, on the Pacific walk from the Mojave Desert all the way up to Canada. And the reason I picked this one was because of the nature sounds, because there are there's a variety of different nature sounds, and sometimes, ones of her rock climbing are actually ones of much bigger boulders that she's actually not climbing on, so it kind of exaggerates everything as it's exaggerated in her mind, especially when she's in pain.
Yeah.
And also there's a real high frequency thing that goes on, and that everything's a little bit
Okay.
and you really get a kind of insight in that there's kind of this interference going on in her brain, even though she's in this amazing landscape.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're my number 5 and number 4.
Excellent. Thank you, Laura. David, what's your number 5? What's your number 4?
I'm going to keep this really short because we're starting to run out of
Sure,
time. So
okay.
Sorry.
I've got a joint. I'm not blaming you.
Yeah, you are.
No, I'm not. Joint number 5 is The Shining and Pan's Labyrinth.
Oh, nice. Good picks.
I love them both for different reasons. The Shining because of the use of terror and the sounds for the use of terror. Pan's Labyrinth, do you know what? I've seen this film such a long time ago. All I remember is that the sound was spooky.
Yes.
And that was enough. So that's joint number 5. Number 4, Alien. And I'm talking about the first Alien.
Okay.
Because that film was just terrifying.
Okay.
And, it came, when did that come out? 1979? So it was one of those, and it had the original X. So at the time, there was nothing like it at all. And when people were sitting there watching it, and you had that sharp musical sound that made you jump, it was one of the first times that it had worked, if you see what I mean. And
Yes.
And it hadn't been used before, and it was just awesome.
Okay.
And also the bone crunching, the sound of that thing coming out of that man's chest.
Very good picks. Very good picks. Okay, so my same sort of thing. I have two for two. So I have two and number fives, two and number fours, and I'll be very quick. My number fives. Bad Taste, which is actually it's Bad Taste / Brain Dead. Those two, I kind of put them together. That's Peter Jackson's earlier work. It's
lots of squelching in that.
Lots of squelching, exactly. It's zombies and people's limbs get ripped apart, and you can imagine melons and whatnot just getting squelched, and it's like body parts, and and it's very visceral. It's very nice. I've paired that up with, and it doesn't match up, but I've paired it up with Baby Driver. And the reason why I've used Baby Driver, Edgar Wright's Baby Driver from 2 years ago, is because of the use of sound. Especially the main character has tinnitus or tinnitus, however you want to pronounce it, and so he listens to music to drown it out.
Yes.
And there's a point where you don't really notice it unless you're really looking out for it. Throughout the movie, whenever he's not wearing his headset, the sound, the high pitched sound, is there. So you feel jarred just like he is, and you feel comforted when he puts his headphones on when he's listening to music. Love those two movies. That combination. That's my number five. My number four is a combination of loud movies. Saving Private Ryan and Mad Max Fury Road. Both of them use sound to great effect because there are two things. I mean, the opening sequence of Saving Private Ryan is the landing on the beach, and you hear bullets whiz past people's ears, and it makes you feel as if you're there. I mean, I know you're not there on a battlefield, but it feels like you're there. You're hearing the sound of bullets just whiz past your head. That really, really got me with that movie. The next one is the one I paired up with was Mad Max Fury Road. Again, it's great. It's especially when there's a chase scene in the middle of the film where there's a hurricane, it's a sandstorm that's coming in. You're hearing all the sound and everyone else attacking, and when that interaction, it's done so well. That's why those are my number fives and my number fours. Number five, Bad Taste / Brain Dead and Baby Driver. Number four, Saving Private Ryan and Mad Max Fury Road. You're listening to Shoot the Breeze on Resonance 104.4 FM. I'm Marcus E. Acko.
I'm Laura Sampson.
I'm David Campbell.
With us in the studio, who's going to tell us her number three and number two favorite films because of sound, is Robyn Leonard. What's your number three? What's your number two?
So my number three, which came out a couple of years ago, was Arrival, because I was really impressed whenever someone can make these unique sound effects that I've never heard anywhere else before. So this is like a sci-fi film. It involves aliens. I'm not sure if it's necessarily about the aliens, but
no.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, one of the subjects are these otherworldly, like from another planet. However, they tie them. I feel like they create empathy because they use sounds for the aliens that you associate with Earth, and I think through that they created really good empathy through that. So my number two is one of my favorite films, Amelie. Yeah.
I knew there was something I left off my list. Okay.
So it actually ties a lot in with the music. I think it was Jan Tiersen who did the score for Amelie. But the thing he does with the music is he uses sound effects to set a rhythm. So in one of his songs, you'll hear a typewriter, which is used in the film. And it ties it together, and I think it creates this escapist, surrealist world.
I'm going to use Amelie for favorite visual moments. So
Great.
when we have that top five, that's what I'm going for.
Yeah.
Laura, what's your number three? What's your number two?
My number three is Dunkirk because of the historically accurate sounds and how the guy who did the sound built this massive machine to make the sound of these particular German sirens, and they are absolutely terrifying. All of the sound in that film is terrifying. I find war films quite terrifying anyway, but this one, there was so much open space and so much kind of foreboding about the whole thing, and then bang, but particular types of bangs. And so I could go on, but I won't.
No, good call.
My number two is Barbarian Sound Studio.
I knew you were bringing that up.
Because I learnt quite a lot about how Foley might have been done, and it was really funny kind of looking at these these vegetables being squelched or whatever, and then listening to that put onto a film. You don't usually get to see that as fiction. I learnt quite a lot about a particular horror genre movies and what kind of sounds they use. So it's kind of educational for me. The story was a little bit by the by, but I'm looking forward to checking in with it again next week as a play at the Donmar Warehouse.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay. Thank you, Laura. Dave, what's your number 3 and number 2?
This has been really, really difficult, actually. I've just
Right?
been going all over the place. I chose as my number 3 Diva, which is a 1981 French film.
Okay.
And it's not about sound per se, but the plot is basically that this postman who is very much into opera, and this particular opera singer who's a diva, he goes to a concert. She's never been recorded before. She doesn't like the idea of being recorded, and he records her. His tape gets mixed up with another tape which has some dirty deals mixed up on it. Okay. So he gets chased through the whole of Paris trying to find this, and he gets chased by some criminals who are after one tape, and he also gets chased by the producers for the directors for the Diva, who are after the tape that he recorded. At the end of the film, one of the significant points of that was that she was wary about listening to herself on tape because she said she'd never heard herself sing.
Yeah.
So it's all about sound in that respect, and it was one of those films that I really, 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 really enjoyed watching.
Cool.
And I could honestly turn and say that it made me think a little bit more kindly towards opera, because up until then I was just not interested.
And how's your number 3? Diva. Okay.
Number 2 is Quiet Place.
Nice.
The reason why I say A Quiet Place, you have to go and see this film, but the whole premise of the film is sound.
Yes.
And it's the lack of sound that makes the film.
Yes.
But
the usage of sound,
the usage of quiet that makes the film.
Yes.
And when you're sitting in a cinema and you're having to be quiet and pay attention to every detail, and you're enjoying that damn film, I'm telling you, you're going to enjoy that film.
No,
so, A Quiet Place, because I have been raving about that film for a little while.
Yeah.
I have given it quite a high mark. I think it was 4.5 out of 5, which is a high mark for me. So, anyone who hasn't seen it, I encourage you to go and see it because it's a really good film.
That's pretty high. Well, I'm not sure if that might come out later on the list, but we'll see. That's okay. My number 3. Okay, so I've been tussling whether to pair this up with something else. I think I will pair it up with something else just so that I can have my number 1 on its own. And I'm actually, no, I won't. Blue Ruin. Blue Ruin is my number 3. It's an indie movie. It came out a few years ago. It's about a man who's destitute until he finds out some news about some people who had committed some crimes against his family, and he goes out and he hunts them down. The reason I love this film is because when it comes to sound, we're talking violence, we're talking bone crunches, you're hearing how it punches that are laid into people, and it's so visceral, you can feel it when you hear it because it's just impactful. And that's whoever did the sound design on that, kudos to them. It did an amazing job because it's just terrific. It's called Blue Ruin. That's my number 3. My number 2, Babadook. The Babadook. Horror film. It's about a single mother who is raising a child, and she finds a book that he's reading called The Babadook, and a character comes to haunt them, and the use of sound in that is creepy as hell. It's sort of every creak, every that's how the Babadook sounds. Babadook. That is done to such great effect. It is just, for me, it is. I watched it a few years ago. It has stuck with me ever since. Anytime I think of sound in movies, that's the first thing that pops up. But it's not my number 1, though. We'll hear my number 1 in a few minutes. You're listening to Shoot the Breeze on Resonance 104.4 FM. I'm Marcus E. Acko.
I'm Laura Sampson.
I'm David Campbell.
With us in the studio, who's going to complete the round of top 5 favorite films with sound, or films because of sound, is Robyn Leonard. Robyn, before you say your number 1, I want to go to Jimmy Noble. James, thank you. You supported me. Talking about prologue is fair game. Yeah, good. He has said his number one is Raging Bull, and I agree. You hear the punches in there, Raging Bull. It's again, it's all about sound, right? It's if you can see a punch hit someone's face, it doesn't mean anything. You hear the sound. That is what sends it home. Robyn, what's your number one?
So my number one is a film that's been with me since I was a toddler. My parents told me I watched it when I was 2. I don't remember, but I have this emotional attachment to it for some reason. So it's from the 40s, and it's Disney's animation Fantasia.
Nice.
Which, for some reason, I think had me listening to classical music at a very young age.
Yeah.
But I find it really interesting. It's actually the first film to deal with stereo sound. As in, I think when it was released in cinemas, they had to build cinemas for Fantasia. So I just found that quite revolutionary.
That's a great pick. Laurel?
Sorry. No. I think they constructed the visuals because the sound is already music that's been scored. But just the visuals and the sound go together so well.
Okay. Laura, what's your number one?
My number one is The Clock by Christian Markley, a sound artist who had this film. It's a 24-hour long film of clips from lots of feature films that feature clocks, and it happens in real time. It was on at the Tate Modern for several months last year. I don't think it's still there anymore, but it was brilliant and completely addictive, and it used not just the clock sounds but all of the other sounds from all of the other clips, thinking about how they would go from one to the other in a sort of seamless way, even though you were just watching a clock go round, really, and trying to recognise the films. It was so clever and so brilliant. I wish I could see it for the whole 24 hours.
And that's called The Clock.
The Clock, or The Clocks, or something like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. David, what's your number one?
I had real difficulty choosing this, but I'm going to stick with it. Psycho.
Psycho, of course. And every time you hear,
Yeah, exactly.
you know what that is.
You cannot go wrong with that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
My number one, already been said, A Quiet Place. Use of sound, use of lack of sound to great, devastating effect. Fantastic film. I believe it's up for an Oscar this year. Good luck to it. Hope it wins.
It's up for a sound design Oscar as well.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I mean the sound design. Yes. So anyway, you've been listening to Shoot the Breeze on Resonance 104.4 FM. Robyn, I want to thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We're definitely going to have you back, talk more about sound. We'll
Yes,
get
please.
more and talk more about that. But anyway, I want to thank you all. Go on to fundraiser.resonance.fm to go and bid on some auction stuff. I've been Marcus E. Acko.
I'm Laura Sampson.
And I'm David Campbell.
Thank you for listening.
And see you next week.